Let's get cracking!
Welcome back, everybody, to the Dota 2 Champions League. We're going to be jumping into Team Tinker versus Fnatic in a 2-game series. Right now, Team Tinker are sitting quite happy at second place. They are sitting with a 7-5 record, while Fnatic are bottom of the current ranking stage, but that's only because they played one series so far in the Dota 2 Champions League, and that went a draw, 1-1. So Fnatic definitely looking to be able to secure one of the big wins here up against Team Empire, against Team Tinker. Even just taking one game off of Tinker can put them in a really good slot going into this group stage. But as I see, we have a lot of draft wrapping and unfolding itself. We have my co-caster Nahaz, who's going to be joining me once again.
Yeah, no rest, man. No rest. I'm frantically throwing down the nom-noms, getting ready for this series because this should be a really fun one. And Fnatic opened the draft with what has been sort of the staple of their lineups lately, this Faceless Void. We've seen both Boogie and Trixie play this hero, and they just are so good at drafting around a lineup around the Void. You know, most other teams will try to go a fairly early BKB on that Void, try and avoid getting stunned up in his own Chronosphere. Fnatic say, you know what? We don't care. We're going to build that Void. We're going to rush in Aghanims. We're going to get that perfect Chrono off, and we're going to pick heroes that can nuke you down inside of that big purple sphere. Meanwhile, Team Tinker, Death Prophet to me is the hero that I personally value the highest out of any hero in the pool. If you give me a chance to pick this hero first in any match, regardless of side, regardless of situation, I am going to do it. The only hero that even comes close for me right now is the Razor. Both Sing Sing and Quakefa have played this hero very, very well in the mid lane. Recently, in a couple of matches that I've seen, they've shifted Quakefa into the off lane, which is not something, I'm not sure if they're going to be doing that on a permanent basis. I sort of hope not, although some of the farming games that he's put off in that off lane role have been really impressive.
All right, guys, we are dropping a little bit of frames. I am aware of it. We weren't dropping anything, so I have earlier, so I have passed on the information. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a fix here soon, but I do have the eyes. Keep an eye on it. It looks like it's tapered off a little bit right now, so hopefully we will be good as it goes on in the future. And of course, hello to everybody in Dota TV who can hear us just fine. Team Tinker, we've got Death Prophet, Tidehunter, and Skywrath Mage being picked up like them. So a lot of early game, a lot of pushing power now. Possibly one of the strongest duos when it comes to roaming between the Skywrath and Wraith King.
Yeah, and I gotta wonder a little bit about these Team Tinker bans, because I understand the Lich ban, especially with the Tinker. That Lich is a very good hero at protecting the Tinker in the mid lane, and certainly you can't question the Mirana ban too much. But I think you got to ban Earthshaker against Fnatic. Hani on this hero lately has been incredible. He and Korok, the only players averaging over 15 assists a match on that hero in this version. And this is not recent. I mean, this goes back, if you remember the way they rotated their lineup in the summer around Excalibur, you saw a bunch of Hani Earthshaker Excalibur Tinker games where he just did such a good job at protecting that Tinker in the laning phase. That Fisher, just offensively and defensively, such a difference-making spell throughout the game.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, man. And I love seeing myself Hani Earthshaker, and he certainly has some things he's been a little bit frustrated about lately with the recent performances by Fnatic. They had a pretty tough loss recently in ESL 1 where they got knocked out due to a matchup up against virtus.pro where they lost 2-0. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were good, and that's the thing. That first game, of course, we did that yesterday, was just the heartbreaker of heartbreakers, losing the game with 70 HP left on the opposing throne. But now the Warlock, oh my.
Yeah,
this is an interesting pick. I don't know that I've seen a Warlock Tinker combo.
Yeah, it's certainly much different than what we have seen before, and I feel like it's a bit greedy. Whether this is Warlock as a support or a core position, I don't really care. I still feel it's greedy no matter what. Like, because we've got two different heroes. Like, the Faceless Void Tinker for me, is still a very, very greedy combination. Does amazing work in the mid game. It obviously gives you a huge late game advantage. But when it comes to those first 25 minutes where games are won and lost within that point of time, Faceless Void and Tinker oftentimes don't give you that much. So I'm concerned about this early laning phase. I think Team Tinker can definitely, they have the good heroes to be able to do some serious work. But if they are able to get a good start with the Skywrath Mage, Wraith King, start taking down towers with the Death Prophet, it's just going to snowball heavily from there.
And of course, I am now like just bopping myself on the head, saying things like, I've never seen a Tinker and a Warlock. Of course we have. We've seen that by C9. C9 ran it twice in WEC, won with it both times, including a win against EG. So, yeah, I mean, this combination is legit. But, I mean, when you talk about greedy, like greedy for me doesn't even cover it. This is super greed mode engaged here, and it is going to be interesting to me because I think Team Tinker, number one, have themselves set up to have a very dominating laning phase with the lineup that they've chosen. And number two, they're not a team that is afraid to play against these early game greedy strategies. I mean, we've actually seen Sing Sing run the one position Wraith King before, and he is ridiculously aggressive with that hero. I mean, he'll rotate out of lane at like 6 minutes on a one position Wraith King to get a kill on the enemy mid. So Fnatic really have their work cut out for them here if that's how they want to go.
Last couple of bans to the Brewmaster by Team Tinker and the Storm Spirit now by Fnatic. And definitely got to respect the Storm Spirit ban. One of the best shutdown heroes going up against a Tinker. While the Brewmaster would have given Fnatic a lot of good team fight, and apparently they feel this is going to be a support Warlock, which I am...
5 seconds.
Again, I feel like it's greedy as a support, but I can get behind it, I suppose. They needed to be able to have some sort of high-impact team fight hero.
Well, so think of it this way, okay? You're on the Radiant side. If you pick a carry that is a strong laner, I think you can get away with it, okay? Because you've got the Earthshaker, and I mean, in terms of especially defending on the Radiant side, right? He's almost like having two supports, okay? You don't necessarily the Warlock doesn't necessarily have to pull a lot of weight very early on in the game. You're gonna run the Void in the offlane, and I really love to see. I think this hero ought to make a comeback, the Leshrac. I think he ought to make a comeback in the core role, and I think this is a perfect pick from them in this situation. Is a little bit on the vulnerable side to the Chronosphere as well as the burst damage coming out of the Tinker Earthshaker, but still, the aggression that this signals for me that's going to be coming out from Team Tinker in this match is really something I really like to see.
10 seconds.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really love seeing the Leshrac as well, especially when you have some stun combo setups for it. But this does mean we're going to be seeing the Wraith King being run as a core or potentially the Leshrac, but I'm kind of leaning towards the Wraith King. Seems a lot more likely anyway. So Leshrac core position has been...
Pycat on the Wraith King, although they have rotated a little bit. But yeah, with Pycat on the Wraith King, EGM will be in the support position on the Leshrac, and that's fine. I mean, they have enough setup for the split Earth, although... I go back and forth, right? Because Leshrac is a hero that just so badly needs HP. He needs HP and mana early. You need to build items on him early on. So he really is very, very greedy as a support pick. And given what you're up against, right? And we are, oh my, we are going to have a mid Warlock.
Yep.
Oh, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. I still am waiting, okay? Because I have seen what March is doing in Korea with this mid Warlock, and I mean, it is incredible. He's blowing games open at like 25 minutes, Aghanim's refresher. It just looks like there's nothing you can do against it. I mean, I remember Basecap casting a game not that long ago where March was on Warlock, and Basecap's like, I'm not really sure this hero is viable, but after watching him play it, how can you say it's not? And that's exactly how I felt watching the game. So I have been looking forward to getting a chance to see this in Western Dota with some teams and players that I'm a little bit more familiar with, where I have a better frame of reference. And it looks like we're going to get to see it here today.
We're still trying to figure out some of our frame issues here. It seems to be coming and going at the time, and still trying to figure that out. Of course, my local recording is doing just fine. It is being able to get a perfectly nothing dropped there. So we will be uploading these to YouTube. So if there are those guys, if anybody misses it, and then of course, hello to everybody in Dota TV. Thank you for buying the ticket. We do have, so what are you? One position, Tinker, a middle lane Warlock, and an off lane Faceless Void. Still feel that's greedy, but the use of the Warlock here in the mid lane is probably like the most high impact hero that they have on their side to make use of a mid lane matchup where he's able to get a lot of farm and a lot of experience. My biggest concern is if he should get shut down. He should get shut down by this rotations from the supports on the side of Team Tinker.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? This is a high-risk draft, and you called it from the beginning. We were calling this draft greedy, even kind of, I was thinking that before the Warlock was picked. And greedy drafts are by definition high risk, right. But it's also a high reward draft. So, I mean, we're going to see much as, yeah, I think as simple as it sounds, much comes down to this mid lane matchup, because if Singh is capable, if Singh ends up dominating this match as he's capable of doing, it's going to be very, very hard with anything less than an extremely strong start on Matumbama's Warlock for Fnatic to make noise in this game. And just saying that, they may give up a first blood here if Trixie isn't careful.
Trixie able to scout out the rotation just in time, will stay ahead of this one. But Team Tinker, I like that. I mean, just because of the fact that the supports are like so dependent on being able to pick up their level 6 as well. If they can start this out with an early block on whether it's the pole camp or the medium double pole camp, either one, I think that's the best thing for them. But they're actually running an aggro try here. They are full on. This is a ward that is meant for aggressive tri lanes.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, otherwise you would place it. That doesn't block the camp, does it? No. Looks like it does it with his body. Yeah, I was 99% sure it doesn't. And yeah, I mean, if you're running anything other than an aggro try, you're going to take that ward and place it just a little bit up and block that camp. That's a ward position that I've been seeing more and more often lately. But yeah, and I think this actually makes perfect sense, right? If you're confident in Koikva's ability to do pretty well top, why not go aggro try? Because that's the thing about Koikva. As much as I've enjoyed seeing him in the 2 role and the unbelievable farm that he's able to put up on so many different heroes, I mean, it's sometimes you watch Koikva play and it's like he's playing a different game, the rate at which he accumulates farm. And I mean, don't sleep on the fact that if he gets that usual very strong early start on this Tidehunter, who should absolutely destroy a Faceless Void 1v1 in lane, by the way. If he gets that really strong farming start, he's going to have a big impact too. And that Ravage is a nice counter to the Warlock.
This may actually be a bit unfortunate for him. The lane is actually going all the way into the tower. He blocks so heavily on the side of Boogie with the Earthshaker Fisher that it's actually going into the tower. This means it's going to be pushing back. And, well, in a melee versus melee matchup, creep equilibrium doesn't mean as much, but it still can give you something that Koikva might be able to abuse and kind of chase away the Faceless Void with this extra bit of room as it bounces back to his tower. Now, EGM's going to be running into Trixie here. We have to keep our eyes. No, nice block off. Blood. This is beautiful. Fnatic will be picking up the first blood here on Hani.
On the Hani Tinker. Goodness gracious. So yeah, I forgot to mention the role swap, putting Hani back on the Tinker, but boy, oh boy, that's exactly how you would have scripted it if you were Fnatic. Couldn't have happened better.
Yeah, I think, yeah, there was something I forgot to mention as well, just because of the fact that we know Hani's much more comfortable on the Tinker than probably any of the other players on the side of Fnatic. Certainly probably more than Trixie, who they did play together, and Hani was always playing the Tinker in that regard. Right. So it's just one of those small switch-ups that is kind of has to happen, and hopefully Hani will feel a lot better being in this core position as he vented some frustrations on Twitter last night about his losing to virtus.pro in that matchup was just pretty heartbreaking.
Those were tough games. It is, I mean, he had at least one of those games where he played basically perfectly on his support, and it's very, very frustrating. I can sympathize with him, and I didn't feel like, you know, just the tone of the tweets, I didn't feel like he was really trying to flame anybody in particular. It's just bubbling over, which I think we can all understand. But you know, the other thing that I like about Hani's Tinker is that he tends to play a bit more aggressively on this hero. He's not as much a passive stack farming Tinker as Excalibur was, and I think that synergizes nicely with the Warlock, who might get a kill on Sing Sing mid.
If only the casket bounced again. Not. Sing Sing actually will be taken out. He's going to be taken out from that Shadow Word, and that's why Sing Sing turned around and did as much damage to Trixie as possible. Unable to get the return kill, though. I love the Fnatic went for that early roaming like that. So necessary when you're facing up against an aggro try. Just because they got first blood doesn't mean that they still weren't being dominated by the aggro try. So they really need to rotate out and try and win some of these other lanes, because the only thing they can do at this point is just try and go for pulls and get whatever small amount of CS and experience they can get.
Oh, I mean, 100% spot on. And look, I mean, I hate to make too big a deal out of stuff that happens in the first 3 minutes of the game, but if you were to look at the end of that draft and you could have scripted it, right? What more could you have asked for than a kill in the Tinker's lane on the Tinker with first blood going to Hani, and then a kill in which the Warlock gets to participate, and he's level 5 here right after the 3-minute mark.
Yeah, and that's that early level 6 can play a pretty big impact here in this bottom lane. Is it's always the danger of aggro tries, is being leaving yourself very underleveled if you don't manage to secure those kills, and very susceptible to those mid rotations. You don't normally think about Warlock though as being a very high impact rotating hero, but I really think he should actually get a blink dagger, or not a blink dagger, a TP scroll, and fly it out to him. And as soon as he's at level 6, he can rotate down.
There it is, right as you called it out. I couldn't agree with you more. And that's the other thing that I want to highlight about this Warlock is, you know, we don't necessarily see this situation a lot, especially in Western Dota, so people tend to sleep on it. He gets that level 6 up early, right? Sing Sing is not even level 5 yet. He gets that level 6 up early. He can straight up kill Sing Sing 1v1.
So there's the TP scroll, and we'll see whether or not he uses his opportunity as he does pick up his level 6 to try and force the action tier onto Sing Sing with the rotation of the Witch Doctor, or if they try and push back on this aggressive Trine lane that is constantly threatening their carry Tinker. Another side note that we do have the Ancients being blocked out by an early ward being placed by Team Tinker, so there isn't even that opportunity for Hani to make some sort of recovery. They certainly can't like stack up anything in their jungle just due to the presence of an aggro try potentially catching you out while you're stacking up, or even worse, taking the stack away from you.
Yeah, and they're not even stacking up the jungle camps either. I mean, what you said earlier about the performance in the trial lane is right. I mean, that first blood is great, but 5 last hits at 5 minutes on the Tinker, that's you have to have a plan for how to get him back in the match now.
Yeah, and the question is, do you actually, I mean, I would have to say, in my opinion, it's got to be the Tinker, but do you maybe consider the stack that they currently have? Fisher on 2. Where's the cask bounce? Trixie isn't there. He's going to be sitting back, waiting for Pycat to come in. They will be able to hit that extra bit of stun, and the laser not quite enough. Pycat is going to be blocked up beautifully by Trixie. That gets a lot of extra damage out of that March of the Machine. Still won't have enough damage, though. But Tomba Man is actually going to be able to finish him off. Never mind. So the TP scroll comes into work.
Yeah, there you go, and he's gonna be able to make it right back to mid here. Oh no, come with me is gonna get some much needed XP on his Earthshaker. I actually really like this rotation. They're positioned to go ahead and take the kill on Sing Sing and get the tier 1 tower if he's not careful.
EGM is hiding himself in the trees behind this enemy tier 1 tower for the time being. Not sure if he's just waiting to make sure that the enemy jungle is cleared out so we can go back into lane again, or if he's really actually looking for some sort of gank attempt. Double damage going to be found on Trixie. And still going to be spotted out by EGM, and now grabs the double damage. Risking the cask. He needs some extra health, though, and he realizes this. He realized the rotation's coming over. He's going to focus on EGM. Couple of right clicks, and he will be able to finish off a trade. A support for a support. So far, so good. Witch Doctor still keeping himself alive. Sing Sing trying to go for that last hit. Still not enough, and now the ultimate being locked out, and the Fisher block from Come With Me, which will finish off Sing Sing as he takes out from the Shadow Word. Now, coming in from behind, Pycat. Not really sure what he can do against this. This is 2 very tanky heroes, plus the Golem. As you can see, Pycat, the Shadow Word was almost up again here for the Warlock. In fact, he can probably get in range here. With the stun goes out, not quite enough. A little bit of slow. Pycat will hide himself under the tier 1 tower. The rotation in from Come With Me as well as Trixie, though, will finish him off. And Pycat, not sure what his idea was there to go into that golem like that, but he does pay for it quite heavily. 6-1, 7 minutes into this game, and Fnatic are looking very damn good already.
Just sick plays coming out from Fnatic. I mean, that is 2 Fissure blocks, or 2 Fissures that set up kills on 2 of Team Tinker's cores, and the beginning of that engagement, Trixie just abusing Voodoo Restoration, knowing exactly how many hits he can take. I mean, he was down to 10 HP running up the hill back into the Radiant jungle and still comes in to contribute to the fight at the very end. Beautiful, beautiful engagement coming out of Fnatic. That is as exciting a team fight as I have seen at the 7-minute mark in a while, and a lot of it, I just love Warlock. I so want Warlock to be a thing.
Mm-hmm. I can tell. Every single time you're like, yes, a Warlock. Bottom lane, we may have Hani being picked off. We've got Quaitha as well as EGM. They may not even need a Ravage if Hani is so far forward that, never mind, they don't actually have the Gust. The concussive shot, though, if EGM is able to land the stun. There goes the Ravage. They need to ensure this kill very quickly. Hani's still alive, but the last hit comes in. Still, though, Chronosphere underneath the March of the Machines. Boogie is going to get a double, possibly a triple here, as he does finish off the Tidehunter as well. Warlock actually managing to secure the kill onto EGM's Leshrac, but still, that's a huge increase there for Boogie, who was having such a tough time in lane. But then once the Tidehunter left, he got himself a little free farm, and with the Tidehunter leading to the bottom lane, he even catches a great little team fight. Top lane, Pycat diving in super deep here to go for a kill on Come With Me. And he doesn't even have the mana for his ultimate.
Bad idea, friend.
He's going to die.
This is really problematic for them.
Another great Fissure block.
Another kill set up by Come With Me.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Beautiful, beautiful. Looks like our lag is completely gone, by the way, so think we should be good. Quaitha coming in, but doesn't have a Ravage. Nothing he can really commit to, just pushing back the rest of Fnatic. Fnatic, though, I mean, they're doing so well in the first 9 minutes of the game, and we described their draft as being rather greedy, and that's because we figured that they were going to be losing the laning phase. Them starting out so well in the laning phase like this, even if they're still a little bit behind in CS, these so many kills making up for it, that they are really going to start snowballing once they're able to finish up Hani's basic items. Still going to be plenty of time, though. Golem being dropped in the bottom lane. Fissure onto 2 there. The Golem actually going for Pycat at first. Still has that reincarnation up. These supports are getting low. Boba with a couple of right clicks might be able to finish him off with the Shadow Word taking him down. But Tumbo Man will be going down in the process. Diving in pretty deep here. Trixie will survive once again thanks to the Voodoo Restoration. Pycat still looking for that stun. Fissure is going to be able to hit on 2. Come With Me, trying to find the openings to be able to get out of here. But Sing Sing looking to try and chase him down. Back over to Trixie, who's hit himself in the corner, trying to teleport away. Pycat will put a stop to that one and will be able to claim the kill. Come With Me blocked up by Creeps. Exorcism will finish him off as well. And Team Tinker do get some pretty good kills there and might just be able to push down this bottom tier 1 tower on top of all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old Juggernaut quote about bravery and something else. I mean, it was just crazy to me to see Matubama just walk into 4 Team Tinker heroes. Like, I got a rock, I'm gonna drop it on your face. But unfortunately, he is a Warlock, and it was a little bit greedy too to blow his Shadow Word on Bulba's Skywrath Mage as he was running away, rather than using it to keep himself alive for a couple more seconds.
Oh, the teleport in. Boogie is coming in with the Chronosphere, locks down Pycat. And that's going to be life number 1. Now, he's going to come back into a Upheaval plus a Fissure block. That,
Quaitha right on the edge of that Upheaval AoE.
Yeah, he's actually going to be able to get off the Ravage, locking down 2. Fissure will go down, locking in 2 heroes for the time being. And with the Shadow Word going down, I think our Warlock is going to be just outside of the range of that Wraithfire blast. And they still go on the Warlock here, being able to hit him with the stun, follow-up nukes, not quite enough damage, as he's just barely ahead of the life points that would have been required from the Crypt Swarm to finish him off. And, I mean, there's nothing big that comes out of that from Fnatic, except for the fact, well, one, they popped the Reincarnation, which is such a long cooldown. That is a lasting impact. But also the fact that they just bought time. I mean, Hani's casually farming up an Ancient stack now. Will be able to get his Boots of Travel off of this.
Well, but the bigger deal, though, is I really do wonder if Quaitha hadn't been caught on just, like, the leftmost pixel of that upheaval from Matumbaman, he might have been able to get off a 3-man Ravage instead of a 2-man Ravage on the very edge, and that changes the complexion of that fight completely. I think they might have gotten a triple kill out of that with ease. But this is the thing about how upheaval works. It's very important because the tooltip is not necessarily indicative. It's not how long the enemy hero has been in the AoE, it's how long Warlock has been channeling.
Right.
So if he's channeling the upheaval from the very beginning, and you walk into it, you can be immediately slowed for the max slow. And that's what happened to Koikva right there. He'd been channeling just long enough that Koikva, without the Blink Dagger, he's gone mech first in this match, couldn't get in position for that perfect 3-man Ravage. And that really determined the fight. There's no way that Matumbaman lives to that engagement if he got the 3-man Ravage off and he had been closer in.
Sing Sing is still farming quite well. We have the top 3 net worth on the board, all on the side of Fnatic, though. The Warlock, Tinker, as well as even Boogie's off lane, who was going up 1v1 as a faces Void up against the Tidehunter. But he's been a part of so many kills now, sitting at 2-0-0, that he has definitely picked up a lot since then. He's got a full Mask of Madness. Hani, meanwhile, with his boots to travel, is going to start moving around the map. And this also leaves us, as soon as he has the Blink Dagger, a lot of opportunities to slow down these pushes from the side of Team Tinker. Without the Blink Dagger, your positioning can be a little bit difficult to get, but the Blink Dagger allows you to be so much more aggressive with your positioning in the March of the Machine spam.
Yeah, and there's your Midas on coming up on Pycat's Wraith King, which I kind of agree with here, because you need some kind of contingency. You really are very far behind on that hero at this point.
Constant spam from the Rockets will be able to force back the supports, with the March of the Machines also supporting them. This is the way that virtus.pro have been running their Tinker in the beginning of this new kind of meta, where we're seeing the Tinker being a lot more active and allowing the team to be able to take down towers while still being able to deal with the split pushes. For example, they're 4-manning right now, but Tinker can very easily go down to the bottom lane and deal with this bottom lane push, and they won't be missing out on that high amount of golden experience that seemingly otherwise would just be going to waste.
All right, maybe he's just waiting for the courier, but I'm wondering if something weird is coming out on Sing Sing's Death Prophet here, because he has the gold to finish his drums. And I was looking at him going, okay, and I think he just, nope. All right, they might just take Roshan, but yeah, this is Sing Sing, despite 73 CS, is a little bit behind his usual farming pace.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing the best out of his team, but unfortunately his team fight's not really going as well as they would have liked. And 14 minutes in, only taking 1 tier 1 is a little bit. I mean, it's not massively far behind, but you would have liked to see at least that middle tier 1 tower going down by now as well, especially with the very aggressive lineup that they've been running, with these 2 supports being able to have supposedly a very large impact. They're going to do a 5-man smoke up here, and they're actually going to be wrapping around behind Fnatic. They're going to come in from this direction. Nice. And this could be a big play for them. At the same time, it could be kind of disastrous if they just get, if there's enough awareness from Fnatic to see what's going on.
Boy, you wish Koikva had a Blink Dagger here. It's going to be very difficult for them to initiate without that.
Fnatic backing themselves up. Looks like Trixie will be caught by the concussive shot. Come with me, though. Has the room for Fisher. Is going to be able to land that Chronosphere on 4 with the Witch Doctor Ultimate. The Ravage puts a stop to that one. And that's the problem. EGM now fighting up against Boogie. He's going to blow him up with the Skywrath Mage Ultimate also coming into play. We also have the Upheaval Slow. That Golem ripping through these heroes. The Slow doing so much work. Come with me. Is going to be taken down on the Earthshaker. They finally finish up the Golem. That Upheaval still doing its work as Pycat is unable to get through all of this mess in order to catch up with Trixie. Come with me, who did buy back, is going to be here for a Fisher block and potentially a turnaround here. Bubble coming in from the right side. They see EGM Rockets going on the 2 other heroes, though, and unable to find anything extra out of that buyback. So in the end, well, the Tinker coming in. Not much else they can do. They still contest the Roshan, though, for the time being. Would have liked to see them maybe pick off Bulba with his very aggressive positioning up here on this side of the river, but they at least still secure that Roshan is not going to be picked up by Team Tinker just yet. And will be finishing up a full Aghanim Scepter here for Warlock very soon. They don't have the damage to do Roshan, though. That's for sure.
They shouldn't. It's too high a risk. But it just feels wrong to me that last fight only ended up being a 1-for-1 trade. Because that was a beautiful 4-man Chronosphere coming out from Boogie and Fnatic. It's just like, I barely even notice anymore when he's hitting these 3- and 4-man Chronos. You just expect it at this point. But arguably an even better Ravage coming out of Koikva, and then the Rock was dropped, but it wasn't quite enough. That is going to change, though, in, well, right now, in 80 seconds, because Matumbaman has his Aghanim Scepter. He has 80 seconds left till his next drop. He's going to have that refresher before too long. And all of a sudden, with 2 golems, things are going to change if they get that initiation again. Meanwhile, though, Tinker will get Roshan.
Secondary Exorcism being used. They do not have the Ravage, but neither is there a Golem for the size of Fnatic, so they feel confident enough to be able to finish this one up. People trying to slow down some of these heroes. EGM will be caught by the cask. And the March of the Machines may actually finish him off as the cask is lasting so long. EGM barely able to get himself out. At the same time, they did finish off the Skywrath Mage, or excuse me, the Earthshaker, who was caught farther down in the river. Team Tinker, though, I mean, that's double Exorcism being used just to be able to finish up Roshan, which should be kind of your birthright at this point. Oh, wow. Jump in from Boogie. They have the Witch Doctor ultimate going off as well. Sing Sing is going down here. There goes that Aegis already. Pycat, he doesn't actually have a reincarnation. He may tick out here from just the Shadow Word. In fact, the Rocket will be able to finish him off. Sing Sing getting some distance out of that March of the Machines. The Cask bouncing around. EGM's going to get popped by that Rocket. The people now slowing down Koifa. They're going to continue to move on as Boogie starts laying in that time lock proc. They're backing themselves up though. Ravage onto 2. Silence up on them as well. Trixie going to get popped by that one. Boogie keeps on going for Boba. Boogie getting low. Not getting enough backtrack packs. They might be able to Echo Slam. Turn around. Pops the Death Prophet. At the same time, we have our Faceless Void, who was able to get himself away with just a sliver of HP. And Hani just keeps on moving forward, looking for Koifa. Not going to be able to find that pickup, but will at least be able to push down this tier 2 tower.
Unbelievable. They didn't even need the Warlock ult in that fight. What a play. I mean, what a collection of plays by Fnatic. They are just doing this so well. Great use of upheaval in these engagements by Matumbaman. I mean, Aoi2000 recently said on Reddit, if you're not using that spell, you're not playing Warlock properly. And a match like this, you can easily see why.
Absolutely. It is one of those spells that is having such a high impact, especially on this poor Tidehunter, who did go for the mech for his team, which makes sense when you have the Death Prophet. You want the faster stat items in Yule Scepter on Sing Sing, but at this rate, that mech and all the poor team fights that are happening is seriously delaying this Blink Dagger, which is so necessary versus that upheaval and the Chronosphere. I mean, that's your way to counter both of those big ultis.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like I probably come off as like a Fnatic fanboy in these matches because, like, I'm a fan of really every Pro Dota team, but it just seems like every Fnatic game I do is just really exciting. And I mean, win or lose, they're always giving us an exciting
Running
match.
into 3 different heroes here, but Boogie's still on the side. No, Chronosphere is up. And that's just going to be an Exorcism for a support for now. The March of the Machine spam starts coming out. Hani's actually trapped inside. The Exorcism doing a lot of damage, still able to get himself some distance. Now the jump in. Now the Chronosphere comes in with the Golem. First, it's going to be Sing Sing going down. Boba up next as Boogie lays into him. And the double Golems will be able to chase away the rest of these heroes. Tinker coming in. There goes that upheaval. And Pycat also going to fall. He gets off at the very least his Blink Dagger. Koifa's going to be caught on the certain side of the fissure with Boogie on the other side. And EGM, the only hero left to survive through that engagement, is Fnatic. Cleared through 4 heroes of the side of Team Tinker and now take a tier 1 tower as well.
Yeah, and I gotta say after that fight that a balance change that a number of people I've heard suggest suddenly makes a lot more sense. A lot of people have said that maybe Rearm shouldn't refresh Blink if it's been put on cooldown by damage. Yeah. And that was the only reason that Hani was able to escape from that fight there, because he was getting eaten alive by Exorcism in those trees and was able to refresh his Blink using Rearm.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that change as well. Take down the tier 1, tier 2, getting a bit low from just these golems, almost down to half health thanks to that. Hani has himself a Blink Dagger and will be finishing up the Dagon here. So now that high amount of burst damage is going to be coming out from the Tinker. It's only going to get worse from here as Team Tinker are having issues dealing with, well, what should be their signature hero.
Yeah, and you said that Fnatic has had problems with virtus.pro. Team Tinker actually lost kind of a head scratcher to virtus.pro a couple days ago as well. I mean, that roster is very nice, but this is a big kill on Boogie if they can get it.
And time walk away. He'll stay 1 step ahead of the rest of Team Tinker. Silence unable to come out in time. They do have Trixie, who's sitting here with the Invis and waiting for his opportunity to strike. He's going to go on Pycat here. And with Matumbaman trying to come in from behind, the Rockets as well on the right side, they're going to be able to do at least a decent amount of damage to Team Tinker, but can't fully force the fight. I'm really surprised that we had our Witch Doctor even trying to do that at all. That felt like a bit risky for me.
It's Trixie, man. This is kind of the thing. I've said this before, that just me personally, this isn't any kind of deep insight, that I really like teams that have players that can swap roles, because you can see what kind of mentality the offlaner and carry player Trixie playing the Witch Doctor can bring to a match like this. I mean, the plays that he's made in this game, you know, being within 10 HP of death in a fight earlier, using the Invis rune and just walking in among the heroes there, he just doesn't care. And I feel like it just puts you in kind of a more aggressive mindset. It's hard to explain. I may just be making stuff up here, but I always like it when a team switches things up like this.
So we have big upgrades coming up for Fnatic here. Dagon 2 for the Tinker, expecting that, but other upgrades. Aghanims for Boogie is going to be up in a second here. We have a refresher halfway done, well, little less than halfway for the Warlock, but he's going to start investing into that. We also have the Earthshaker with the Blink Dagger, and that is definitely one of the biggest pickups of all. As I mean, initiation is huge.
You've seen what damage they're doing with primary and secondary initiation just with the Chronosphere and the Rock. Once you add the Earthshaker into that mix and the sustained DPS coming out of the Tinker with his items now up, that's very, very difficult. I mean, Ravage is Ravage, and Koifa is one hell of a player, but I think that's just too much for Team Tinker to deal with. They're going to have to find a way to force this game out another 10 minutes or so.
Tier 1 tower going down in the bottom lane. Come with me, we'll stop this push in the middle. And there is also a push here in the top lane, but March of the Machine's already put a stop to that as well.
Do they have a path back into this game, Team Tinker?
I honestly feel like they are on, like, I would put this like 90-10 in the favor of Fnatic right now.
The gold lead is not that massive, but I'm looking at where Pycat's Wraith King stands on his farm and the growth that they have left. I mean, these big items coming out for Fnatic are just, they're so huge, even relative to the potential of any of Team Tinker's heroes here in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Stun on the Sing Sing. Matsu maybe dropping well. Nice use of the Yule Scepter there. It's going to be able to delay his death a little bit further. Another Yule Scepter being used to throw up Boogie into the air. And Sing Sing will be able to get himself away for the time being. We don't have a Ravage just yet. No mana on Koifa. Still waiting on that one. He needs a little bit more. Oh, the Echo Slam on 3. Come with me. Finishes off the rest of Team Tinker before they can even think about that one. And Pycat with the reincarnation comes back into a world of hurt waiting for him as the Golems now push down the tier 2.
Holy crap, give me this brand of Dota every freaking day. I absolutely love it. And that's kind of what it's the conversation I was having in my head with myself a minute ago, is that even if the chrono is off, right, can Team Tinker win a fight? And you saw there the Emphatic with the blink on the Earthshaker, which I think honestly ends up being the biggest item of those that was picked up right there in that exchange. No, I mean, they can't cope. They have 3 different forms of initiation to Tidehunters 1.
Poor Koifa, man. He was sitting there without mana for that Ravage for like 5 seconds in the middle of that team fight. Unable to get off anything. There's the axe now for Boogie. And, I mean, this is one of those games where Aghanims on Faceless Void is such a big pickup for them, with just that added little bit of extra Chronosphere timing, but also the fact that you've got all these big players that, whether it's the Witch Doctor ultimate or just the March of the Machines and the burst damage Tinker can throw in during that Chronosphere timing, and the lower cooldown is going to allow them, Fnatic, just constantly go for these pickoffs over and over again. And you're still going to have level 16 going to be picked up by Boogie as well pretty soon here. Yeah,
I mean, I am way behind on my Chinese Dota watching. I have not caught up in watching replays, so I hesitate to call Boogie the best pure utility void in the world. But the plays that he has been making lately in the games that I've seen have been Universe-like. I mean, and even EG has started putting more farm on Universe's Void, so I don't think you can call him a pure utility Void at this point. I'm amazed at how much they are getting out of a Void that really is not doing that much in the way of farming, and they are doing it game after game. Ordinarily, I call the pure utility Void a very unstable configuration for a 5-man lineup. Fnatic are making it stable just because of the plays that they're making behind Boogie.
Yeah, now he's going to be able to make that transition into more damage if he wants to. After the Aghanims pickup, he can start going for items like a BKB, which is a nice little defense item, and then going for some serious damage, or can go for the later game Refresher pickup if he so chooses. Speaking of Refresher, that's going to be coming up here soon on the Warlock, as he just needs the Courier to get to him, and he'll have that. So 4 golems apiece, and not a single defusal to be found on the side of Team Tinker.
Yeah, just for my own personal selfishness here, guys. Tweet at me if I'm really behind. Tell me if any of the Chinese teams have been running Void like this, because I have a feeling I've seen some of them do this in the past, but I don't know. Like I said, I haven't gotten to watch much other than WEC recently.
Void has been less of a priority pickup in the Chinese team than the Western
that's kind of my sense. I mean, just looking at the stats, that's kind of my sense. But again, I mean, I get a lot of numbers, but I actually have to watch the games. Yeah, he's in trouble.
That's going to be a simple Chronosphere. When you have the Aghanims like this, you can afford to just toss it around for support kills. Especially since the Skywrath Mage can be such a high-impact hero with that silence.
I mean, in a strange sort of way, right? That Aghanims becomes a supreme map control item for the Void, because when he can go around like that and just use the Chronosphere for a pickoff at any point on the map, the pressure that he can exert on the enemy team goes up by that much more.
Yeah, I mean, supports can't afford to be alone by themselves. It means even the cores have to be questionable about where they're pushing out, because this isn't just a... When they're farming up a lane, it isn't just a Chronosphere at that point, because the Tinker, if you're farming up a lane, it means there's some creeps there. And if there's creeps there, it means that Tinker is able to be there with all of his extra burst damage as well. So even the carries have to be really careful of that kind of long duration initiation and control offered by Boogie's Faceless Void. Tier 2 is going to go down in the top lane here, 24-11, 27.5 minutes in. Team Tinker certainly on the rope, sitting at 14,000 experience lead and a 14,000 gold lead for Fnatic right now. Okay. Secondary Roshan.
Yeah, little desperation move here, but you got to get something out of the map at this point. And with Void roaming around chronoing everybody, this might be your highest percentage maneuver. Although Fnatic have got to have some idea this is going on.
Yeah, Boogie may just make the leap right into the Roshan pit. Roshan will go down before they can do anything. Aegis will be picked up by the Wraith King here. Ooh. I mean, Death Prophet obviously is not an ideal target, but
yeah, it's probably the right move. But boy, yeah, I mean, if Koikfo were a little bit closer to his refresher orb, you probably see them put it on him. But you know, right now, again, kind of like we said in the last game, as dim as that light is off in the distance at the end of the tunnel, your only path to victory in this game as Team Tinker is Pycat just getting huge. I mean, he dies in a couple more of these fights, and the game is almost over for you.
Agreed. We have now this push into the middle lane. They can go ahead and sit back if they want to and just slowly but surely siege this down while the Tinker deals with the rest of the side lanes. I mean, that's a really big power of the Tinker in some of these pushes, is that you force the enemy to 5-man and you can play really passive at the same time, because the Tinker can just address the rest of the lanes. And Fnatic, you see, they're going to back themselves up and take away this small little ancient bit for Team Tinker.
Yeah, Arteezy had a really nice post a while back on the NA Dota forums explaining the Bloodstone build on Tinker, and you can kind of see how it would work in this match. It's a slow siege build, and it allows Tinker to just put that much more pressure on the lanes around the map.
Eul Scepter going to be picked up by Come With Me. Interesting choice pickup for him. I mean, Blink Dagger is kind of all you need to have a high impact on the Earthshaker, but there are some other items, luxury items you can pick up. Didn't really think Eul Scepter was going to be one of them, personally.
I like the Euls. I mean, if you're really fast, it can actually prevent a Ravage.
And
I mean, I think single target control and mana regen are never bad things. Plus the move speed bonus. It's since the, I hate to say it because it's one of my favorite items in the game, but since the change that made Eul's not like a facepalm pickup against anybody with a blink, it may be a little too good.
We have Pycat sitting on the side here looking for his initiation on the middle lane, but if they wait too long, they're going to lose this tier 2, and they're already backing themselves up. Not rotating immediately to this bottom lane, though, and that's going to cost them the tower. Whether they need to take this fight or not, I'm not sure, but they need to definitely make something happen in return, whether that's fully committing to the tier 1 tower in the middle lane or what. But it seems like they're just going to sit back and farm. Once again, another one of the situations where they are behind on a team that should be able to have the advantage in the first 25 to 30 minutes, are behind, and now we're just left with no really good opportune options here. As I guess the best opportunity is for them to just sit back and farm and try and let this go late. We have the Eul Scepter being used on Boogie, follow-up stun, beautiful little play, but the Warlock Golems are going to come in. Boba immediately taken out. Eul Scepter on the Leshrac is going to be able to delay his death a little bit longer. In fact, Boogie has to be careful of that magic damage. Hani, though, is ripping through heroes left and right. Sing Sing's going to be up next. Another rocket, and not going to be able to finish him off as he has no vision of him. We'll still spam up in the Marching Machines, and with golems number 1 and 2 running through the base, and golems number 3 and 4 in the bench right now, waiting to come out, they sure as hell got a huge advantage for pushing down this tier 3.
Yeah, this one is all but in the books, and it's hard for me even to criticize anybody individually on Team Tinker. I just feel like Fnatic has played such a clean game here.
Another set of golems. Well, they need a bit more mana here for this Warlock, and that might be why they're going to back themselves up a little bit. One golem down. Now the initiation. Hani blows up Sing Sing real quick. Flycat's going to be up next, losing his Aegis now. Koifa comes in with the Ravage, but doesn't hit Hani at the same time. The buyback's coming in a little bit late. EGM's going to trum in. Boogie gets blown up. And that's a good start to this one, but they need a lot more pickoffs than just that. Trixie may be found here in the jungle. He's going to be able to dodge this stun. Eventually, though, he will fall. It still gives enough time for our Warlock to be able to get out.
Yeah, and I mean, Hani just continues to push lanes. It's kind of like, I mean, obviously Team Tinker needed to have that fight or the game was over, but it's kind of like, okay, back to business as usual, and then in 30 seconds, we're going to be on your front door again.
Yule Scepter into the stun. On Come With Me. We have the follow-up. Wraith King, who is going to try and use the stun, but Yule Scepter self-usage this time by Come With Me. Echo Sam goes down, and he's going to be able to do enough damage to finish off the Leshrac with the help of Hani. And Pycat will have to run himself away as with no reincarnation and no Aegis this time around. He's got to be careful. Looks like we have... What is this courier doing? Oh, there's a chainmail on the ground. I guess Pycat really needed...
got his blade mail.
I guess he really needed his hippie scroll at one point in time and had to drop his chainmail there or something, but no, full up blade mail for him, which gives him some opportunities versus the Tinker. But again, Hani just has to be aware of it, play around it.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. You saw in the last match, just how in our last series rather, just how quickly a Tinker can fall if he gets caught out by that blade mail combo. But again, I mean, you have a lot more to deal with coming out of the Fnatic side than just the Tinker. This isn't one of those games where Tinker's just snowballed out of control. He's got plenty behind him.
All right, guys. Well, it seems like Valve is determined I am done watching this game for now, and I'm going to have to reconnect. But I'm presuming we're not going to see anything interesting happen in this.
No, I think you're safe. I'll call it out if anything happens, but I think we're safe here. We got probably about 2 minutes to go before the next fight at least.
Yeah, I would say so too. I mean, the waiting for the next set of golems, like the biggest problem with that last fight for the side, obviously they didn't lose it badly or anything, but there is just the one thing, they never used the double golems.
Right, yeah, that mana problems you mentioned for the Warlock coming in there, and he never got to use those double golems after using the refresher orb. So it's almost the worst of both worlds, right? He put his refresher on cooldown and never got that second set of golems on the field.
We have Koifa is going to be trying to build. What is this energy booster that he has?
What? Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Tidehunter has mana issues when it comes down to using Refresher, and he does have a mech as well. Come With Me is going to try and lead the Enchant Totem, double Yule Scepter usage, this time defensively. EGM's going to be caught out by the Chronosphere, doesn't manage to catch Koifa, and that means a Ravage is going to be able to put a stop to that one. Yule Scepter usage onto Boogie will prevent him from getting hit for the Ravage, and just a little bit of extra damage on Koifa, and they can finish off that one hero, but all they get out of it is just Sing Sing there, who gets blown up. They just needed one more hit on Koifa, and they still may get it. Boogie's trying to catch up with his Mask of Madness, but Koifa will just blink himself away. Just one hit, and that would have finished off the Leshrac.
It almost doesn't matter, though. What they have to deal with right now is these 4 gigantic flaming wrecking balls coming to claim their barracks. I don't see how they're going to hold off this push.
Yeah, tier 3 tower definitely going to go down here. And possibly even a set of racks here, as we can see Pycat is just going for the split push here in the top lane. Quick little finish off on the Leshrac. As Tinker comes in, gets another one with Koifa, and now we'll keep on moving to try and hunt down this Skywrath Mage, who can't even get in range of the Silence. That's how long range the Dagon is, and there it is. The GG call from Team Tinker. Fnatic, after a disappointing loss to virtus.pro in the ESL 1, getting knocked out of the running for New York. They come back strong in the Dota 2 Champions League the next day, taking this first game against Team Tinker in a 2-game series.
Well, I think if game 2 is anywhere as near as good as game 1, I'm probably going to pass out, and that might be entertaining anyway. So join us then. This is going to be a lot of fun, guys.
All right, guys, just a few more minutes as we get ourselves into game number 2. We also, after this, will be having another Dota 2 Champions League match, and then we'll be jumping back into ESL 1. So Team Tinker versus Fnatic, game number 2 coming up next. After that, Fnatic versus Cloud9 following.